This is a presentation on the Los Angeles Central Library fire which occurred on April 29, 1986. As a quick overview of the fire was declared a knockdown after 7 hours and 38 minutes had passed. The fire required 60 fire companies, 1 arson unit, 9 paramedic rescue ambulances, 3 helicopters, 4 salvage companies, 1 squad, 2 emergency air units or helicopters, a heavy utility company, and over 40 staff and support personnel. This made for a total of almost 350 fire department personnel. Approximately 45% of the on-duty fire department resources were committed to this fire. The density and quantity of the building contents helped create intense smoke and heat conditions. These conditions, along with the internal building layout and bookshelves, made access difficult and made ventilation especially important to allow the fire crews to approach the fire area. The high value and rarity of the library's contents made confinement and salvage extremely important. This included limiting water and smoke damage. As you can see, this is a layout of the building, including the floor that the fire occurred on. The Los Angeles Fire Department Arson Squad and the ATF determined that the fire was intentionally set on the 5th tier of the northeast stack. However, they were never able to connect physical evidence to a suspect. To this day, the crime has gone unpunished. There was an initial dispatch of 5 rigs. Chief Kate was the initial incident's commander and set the command post and staging at 5th Street across from the library. Special importance was placed on ventilation to reduce the heat and allow crews to approach, and salvage to save the library contents. As more resources arrived, the ICS system continued to expand. Chief Anthony became the incident commander, and the command post was renamed 5th Street IC. Operations Division was expanded to include multiple divisions for various areas of the building. Here are more details of the expanded 5th Street IC.
The library telephone operator notified the fire department the morning of April 29, 1986. An audio alarm was activated by a smoke detector. The library security personnel evacuated the building. The evacuation was completed in approximately 8 minutes. The battalion chief requested 4 additional task forces to the scene. Engine 10 used a landline to request help on the 3rd and 2nd floor. They were in the northeast corner of the building. Engine 10 then was forced to move from the 3rd floor to the 2nd floor roof at the east end of the building. Engine 9 entered the building from Hope Street entrance and encountered fire on the 5th tier. Engine 9 then connected to the interior standpipe and attacked the fire from the friction room. Ladder 3 accessed the roof by aerial ladder on the northeast corner of the building and went to the roof to begin ventilation operations. Then Ladder 9 decided to ladder the balconies because they were unable to reach the roof with their aerial ladder from Hope Street. Truck 9 and Engine 11 went to the 5th tier of the northeast stack and used a 1.5-inch line and a 2.5-inch line to attack the fire on the 6th tier. After Engine 203 captured the hydrant, they hooked into 2 standpipes, one on either side of the main entrance of the 5th Street, and pumped into the standpipes. LF-11 was unable to find any fire on the 3rd floor. LF-11 then went to the 2nd roof and joined Engine 10 in making the attack on the fire from this location. Engine 11 used a 2.5 supply line from Hope Street to supplement the interior standpipes on the 2nd floor, where they then joined Task Force 9 in attacking the fire in the northeast stack. Chief Malo completed a 360 overview of the southwest and north sides, which were clear. Light smoke was showing from the east of the roof. Battalion 5 was then assigned to ventilation using windows and skylights. The windows and skylights were opened or broken out, only to have little to no positive results. The 16-inch thick reinforced concrete walls, along with the 6-inch thick reinforced concrete roof and floors, combined with the lack of vertical or horizontal passages, made ventilation almost impossible. When the decision was made to abandon attacking the fire from above was because the battalion chief found that the lines coming in from the second floor roof and up from the stairway was not benefiting. The heat became so great that the attack teams were unable to advance the hand lines further into the areas on the 6th and 7th tiers in the northeast stack. Salvation operations were started on the 1st and 2nd floors in the northeast stack area beneath the fire on the 1st through the 5th tiers. Polyethylene, plastic, and salvation covers were used to cover bookshelves and furniture. The sawdust was used to direct water out of the building. At this time, there was no standing water problem in the basement, but there were three major problems: were to provide ventilation for the fire area, rotation of members on the fire attack teams, and lastly, salvation below to the fire area. The medical division was set up west of the library's main entrance across the street. The entrance of an underground garage was used to provide shelter for the medical division operations. At approximately 11:56, lobby control was directed to shut down the building ventilation and electrical system. Around the same time, there was 24 fire companies, 10 command staff and officers, and 5 rescue ambulances on scene. At 12:01, Chief Melo reports that there was fire in the wall on the 3rd floor at the west end of the hall. Fire attack companies experienced a series of banking down problem of heat and smoke due to the restricted ventilation of the fire area. Around 12:25, there was 29 fire companies, 1 air ambulance, 10 command and staff officers, and 5 rescue ambulances assigned to this incident. Around the same time is when Engine 60 reported that fire was showing at the windows of the west end of the light shaft. LF3 and Task Force 35 were directed by Chief Rojo to attack the fire from the light shaft. Blowers were also used for horizontal ventilation to keep the smoke and heat away from the jackhammer crews. The fire now has spread through the hall connecting to the northeast and northwest stacks. The 6th and 7th tier of the northwest stack are involved in fire. Fire attack teams were directed up the stairs into the northwest stack to attack the fire from below. The crews utilized a 2.5 line to fight the fire, but there was also a 1.5 inch line in place to protect those members on the 2.5. Crew members encounter extreme temperature, heavy smoke, narrow aisle, and very limited access.
Around 12:30, the fire was visible in the west windows of the pattern room, which is located on the west end of the building. The fire extended almost 300 feet on the 2nd floor through the building. A new plan was developed to attack the fire, alternating between heavy streams to cool the fire, then an interior attack to extinguish it. Utility 27 was called upon to open up the walls and roofs with jackhammers. After initiating the new tactic, that the fires that were reachable by the exterior heavy streams were knocked down. The spread of the fire was stopped, but there was still a fire that remained in the northeast stack of the library. It was difficult for the crews to reach the seat of the fire due to the extreme heat that has been built up inside of the building. Because the concrete walls retained the heat in areas where the fire had been knocked down. When Heavy Utility 27 arrived on scene, they jackhammered 18 holes where they placed distributors into the 6-inch thick concrete steel, which was used to help cool the areas below. About 4 p.m., majority of the fire was knocked except the northwest stack. The fire had been stopped from entering into the southwest stack, except for a few rows of books on the 6th and 7th tiers. Ventilation helped release majority of the smoke and heat from the fire area. Around this, Divisions B, C, and D started moving crews. Salvage operations were continued below the fire area in the basement and on the 1st and 2nd floors. At approximately 5 p.m., the fire remained in the northwest stack. However, salvage operations has replaced a majority of the firefighting operations in all areas except the northwest stack. During the meeting with all chief officers, which they discussed all areas within the buildings and also developed a plan to relieve all personnel. Between 5:30 and 6 p.m., the fire in the northwest stack was 90% knocked down. The handlines were being advanced as quickly as the area can be cooled down, all while salvage operations were continued to be given the highest priority. Companies were released from the fire as soon as they were no longer required. Around 6 p.m., the fire in the northwest stack had been knocked down. At 6:30 p.m., Chief Anthony declares a lockdown after an inspection of the scene. Operations were scaled down as companies picked up their equipment and were released from the incident. One factor that helped prevent the loss from being greater was the recognition and implementation of salvage operations early in the fire, which helped save a majority of the books, despite the prediction that a fire of this type would be a total loss. 85% of the total value of the structure and contents were saved. However, there were 50 firefighters that were treated for minor injuries, 28 of which were transported to medical facilities. There was one minor civilian injury, and luckily, there were no deaths or critical injuries at this incident.